And Beckham saw Sullivan off his line. Oh!
This is a private member's bar.
That is absolutely phenomenal.
Exclusively for the supporters of the greatest football team in the world.
Cleared, Giggs with a shot. Sheringham!
Manchester United.
Beckham into Sheringham. And Solskjaer has won it!
Oh boy, where to begin with this team? I'm just going to label this podcast the vent session. So if you're listening to this and it's like a half an hour or more just talking complete utter nonsense and shit, I mean, if you're a Manchester United fan, I mean, this could be as bad as it's been in a long time. It's like, I mean, in the last two home Premiership games, I mean, it's like, what are we giving up? Basically 6 goals. And it's like, and Spurs, it's not like they're, Man City or anything. And you put in a performance like that, it's like, what the hell are we doing here, man? What I don't even want to get up to watch the matches sometimes now.
No, especially when we have to get up at 7:30 in the morning to watch some of these 12:30 kickoff matches. So,
yep.
Unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties for last week's podcast, but yeah, you and I talked during that podcast. We unfortunately didn't get a chance to upload, and I predicted a 3-0 Spurs win. You predicted a 3-1, so we were pretty accurate what we were gonna watch. I just knew. This is the second season under Ten Hag that the preseason was god awful, and I could see it this year when they played Rosenborg, and I watched that match, and Rosenborg should have won about 7-0, and that's not even an exaggeration. And I knew, okay, there's not all the starters there. There's a couple of players here or there, but then we've seen, per performance after per performance after per performance, and then all of a sudden we get into the league and barely beat Fulham at home, who had their chances. Then Brighton exposed them. Then right after that, we know Liverpool exposed them.
Yep.
And then
we had the League Cup match, and felt like maybe that was a turn of something. And then we drew against
the Southampton match.
Yep. And then the FC20 match, which we should have won that match. And yeah, it's pretty much the League Cup match against Barnley was pretty much an outlier, and sitting at 13th place in the Premiership. Honestly, especially for a team that I heard this person make this point. He's like, they're planning on spending $2 billion to build a new stadium. How the hell are they going to pay for this if they're not in the Champions League?
I know. Yeah. No, I don't know what they're going to do at this point. Like, it's just, you could sort of see that the club was, the good old Ineos group were contemplating getting rid of Ten Hag. They decided to support him, saying he went through some rough patches with the injury crisis and all that good stuff. But now we're back into seeing the same performances by the same teams. And one of the things that just blows my mind, and I mentioned this specifically in the group chat with us and a couple other United fans, that we've watched Rashford now over the last probably course of 12 to 14 months just not good performances.
Yep.
And he's never called out. But yet you have, and I'm not defending Jadon Sancho, because Jadon Sancho shouldn't have came out and pretty much been insubordinate as manager.
Yeah.
But you can understand the young man's frustration, because he's probably, and that's probably where his frustration came from, because he's watching the likes of Rashford not trying. Like the first goal, the first I called it. Everyone said Rashford didn't really go into the challenge. Garnacho didn't go into the challenge, but the first person I noticed was Dallo.
First
goal.
Yep. If you go back and watch that play, he's just jogging back. And honestly, like if he just sprint for 10, 15 yards or whatever, maybe he's there. It's like he just gave up, man. He did give up.
Oh, he did. And it's also there's three things, the three major things is that that whole situation was I can get it if he was caught out of position, but Johnson was actually right next to him when they lost the ball. Johnson then decided, I'm going to make the gamble. I'm just going to sprint 40 to 50 yards to get in position. And Dallo was like, and also, so that was one thing. And then Dallo was like, I don't feel like giving the same effort this fella's given. So I thought, okay, I would expect to see that in the 93rd or 94th minute if Dallo was bombing up and down the wings. It was the fucking second or third minute.
Yeah, it's it's not like he have no reason to be, tired or heavy legs or anything. It's zero excuse.
Exactly. So you'd swear he had heavy legs. He was running all day, and it was just like he was going up and down the wing. He was, defending where Rashford wasn't defending. I can understand that, but it was the third minute.
Yeah.
Like you should be.
It's inexcusable.
It's like I've seen fellas. I've literally personally played with fellas who are still drunk from the night before, and they've put in a shift for 90 minutes. I've seen fellas literally go over to the side in a Sunday morning match, throw up in the middle of the match, and then 3 seconds later demand the ball and put one in the top corner. Like, and then we have players at United who are earning like money that's like some people would make in 5 lifetimes, and they're just not one. It's their job. Like, it's literally their job to run on a pitch and to make sure you give. And I'm tired of all these, like, and Roy Keane called this out years ago where he said, they're going to have all these, this is during, he was talking about United players, they're going to have their good old PR media team go on there and say, we were sorry, we'll give it better, we'll do better next time. Like, we're going to really.
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that anymore. I don't want to hear that to begin with. And two, it's like it's lip service to me. What's it mean?
No.
Nothing.
Exactly. You shouldn't have to. There shouldn't be a next time. Like, you're playing for Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world. Right now, they're nowhere near where they used to be. Under the Ferguson era when we grew up. I know we have a lot of older fans on us saying, like, we've went through this with Ferguson and all that kind of stuff. But the big difference is with Ferguson and this team now is, like, obviously you can look back and say, like, Ferguson was on the ropes. If it was the FA Cup that saved him his job. But to see the season after won the FA Cup, United just never turned back. Like, you just see the progress being made.
Yeah.
We're not seeing much progress here, and Ten Hag keeps coming out saying we need to follow the plan. The players need time to gel. Here's the thing.
What is the plan? What's the plan?
I don't know. But I'm tired of hearing this whole players need time. You've got Arne Slot over at Liverpool, brand new manager, coming in with brand new tactics.
Yeah.
No problems. He's sitting top of the league. And then you've got the new Brighton manager came in with a new, technically a young manager, came in with a new philosophy. Brighton, they lost 4-2 to Chelsea. But you can see you can see the way they're playing. You know how they're going to play.
You can see what they're trying to do. When I watch him, I don't know what he's doing. I don't have a clue.
No, I hear that. You can clearly see there's other teams that have managers, and like I've seen a crazy stat today that said that and you talked about him earlier. The old I'm drawing a blank right now. The old Arsenal manager, current
Emery. Yeah.
Emery. He took over at Villa. 3 months. There's a 3 month period between him and Ten Hag. Like, whenever Ten Hag took over United and when Emery took over at Villa, and he's got Villa in the top 4 in the Champions League, playing good football. Playing good football. You can clearly see the tactics and philosophy that he's trying to implement with his players. His players are all buying into it. He's got players that literally are that are just chomping at the bit to get on the team. And Ten Hag can't even get fouls to even run 60 yards in the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
I think at this point, players also, like, here's one thing. I don't want this all on Ten Hag. Some of these players really need to have a look in the mirror and say, like,
100%. Obviously, it's going to sound like we're, just shitting on Ten Hag, and I mean, he does deserve a lot of the blame. But first of all, these are professional athletes, and you see the effort that's being put in, and it's disgusting. And honestly, I don't. It's incredible that the fans is like, especially after that the Spurs match. You still hear the fans, and you see the fans singing in the stadium. God bless them. I don't know how they do it.
I honestly think the only reason they are doing that is because they were fortunate enough to have a team that they watched in the past under Ferguson, won titles, won Champions Leagues, won the FA Cups and stuff. So they know what the club has achieved and what they are capable of. And I'm thinking their mindset's like, well, maybe if we show our loyalty and we're going to support this team, then maybe it might stir the players on. The players don't deserve the fans at all. They really just don't. And one of the things that bothers me as well is you and I had a conversation in the summer thinking, okay, Rashford he didn't get called up to the England squad. Hopefully this is the catalyst that will really kick him on this season. If anything, he's actually regressed. He scored a couple of goals against Barnsley. He scored a goal against Southampton. And no, Southampton's more than likely going to get relegated this season. So they're pretty much they beat a championship team and a league team
and a team that's about to get relegated. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And all of a sudden,
cool. Good job.
Yeah. So I would have thought he would have actually tried, but he's just his work ethic isn't there. But he's not the only one. It's just the tactics is all wrong. Ten Hag has no excuse outside of Luke Shaw playing left back. That was the strongest team.
Really, Luke Shaw is probably the only injury that he can really claim. This is his team. He spent $600 million on this. This is his baby, and there is no excuses for him. This is full transparent. I was one of those at the end of the last season that wanted to give him another go and see him with players that that were his. And 2 months into the season, I'm getting close to the point where I think I've seen enough, man. If you add it up, between last year and this year, something 61 something games. I think I read he's won 21 of those. And the one that really stood out to me is it's the 23rd. The Spurs match was the 23rd time that they conceded 3 goals under him. How do you win matches like that when you're giving up that many goals all the time?
No. And that was the thing that he talked about, they were going to try to improve, was that last year they weren't scoring goals and they were leaking goals. So they thought, okay, let's try to fortify the defense. And they've went out and signed, De Ligt, Mazraoui. They went out and got Ugarte. They went out and got defensive-minded players to try to help show up the defense. Yeah. And if anything, it's still the same problems are there. And
they've given up 6 goals at home.
Yeah.
And in the last 2 home matches.
It said it was the first time in God knows how long that they've had back-to-back 3-0 defeats at home. And there was a crazy stat too, seeing that they were saying if you took the percentage that it was a Gary Neville stint at Valencia.
Oh yeah.
Supposedly Ten Hag, his stats as a manager at United are over the course of so many matches. I think it was 13 matches or something. It's last 13 matches was he has a worse record than Neville did at Valencia, and Neville was renowned as being one of the worst managers. In La Liga history. Yeah,
and to piggyback on that is if you look at some of the other managers, whether it was Ole, Mourinho, Louis van Gaal, they, Ten Hag's record is worse than than those guys, and he seems to have gotten a pass. And those guys had never made it this far. It's incredible to me that we are where we at with this part, and I'm never gonna say that you want to lose the FA Cup against City, because I think for all of us it was an awesome day. It was fun. None of us were expecting that, but now you look back at it and say we're kind of paying for it, because Ineos clearly was ready to move on for him. They were looking for managers. There was all the rumors and this and that, and now they gave him that contract extension, and now it's tough. It's and even for them, because Barada and Wilcox and all these guys are now saying, as of just the other day or whatever, that they're saying he's still the guy for us.
Yeah. I'm not really. And I think there's a lot of people that have the same similar mindset to us. There's just people just scratching their heads thinking, okay, I think at this point that longer Ineos dwell and not really pull the plug here. And I'm not saying I'm not one of those just manager hawks that just wants Ten Hag gone, but at the same time, he's not. There's no like FC20.
Yeah.
Possibly could have won that match. The United drew them at home. They had a chance to rectify that playing against Spurs. Give one of the worst performances I've seen. I mean, I've seen a long time.
Yeah.
At Old Trafford. It's not even take away Bruno's red card.
Mm-hmm.
United didn't look like they were doing anything going forward. They just didn't look
yeah. I mean, obviously the Bruno red card didn't help. I mean, it just probably just threw gasoline onto the, something that was already, waiting to explode or whatever. But yeah, I mean that that definitely didn't help. But regardless, if Bruno did not get the red card, I still don't. Honestly, I still don't see us winning that match. Maybe instead of being at 3-0, maybe it's 2-0, or maybe somehow they get. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I have to say is you have to give credit to Onana. Onana made a couple of good saves. Like if Timo Werner had his shooting boots on, it could have been 6 or 7, maybe even 8.
Mm-hmm.
I know United hit the post with Garnacho. I know Xerxes did his usual, like not anticipating the cross and always seems to be stretching for the ball, so he missed a chance. But there was a thing I read, not read, but it was a interview I read or watched, I would say, of Scholes, Paul Scholes. He came out and it was talking about United, and it was after the Spurs match, and he said one of the glaring things that strikes out at him more than anything else is that Ten Hag was told that no, he's going to get supported in the transfer market. He went out and got these players, but Scholes, and I agree with him, a lot of the players he brought in, and they were saying this when United signed some of them, they were saying, okay, like if De Ligt's supposed to be the top defender is, Bayern Munich wouldn't have let him go. And then you hear all these reports out of Germany saying that Bayern didn't want to let him go. And like, okay, whatever. But Scholes said, listen, like a lot of the players he's signing for big money. They're average players. Like Anthony is going to be, looking back, it's not a matter of if.
Yeah, it might go down as one of the worst, contracts.
Well, he will be the epitome. Like if anyone looks back, it's not a matter of if Ten Hag gets sacked, it's when.
Yeah.
When Ten Hag gets sacked, Anthony's going to be. You're going to have Anthony and Ten Hag is going to be. That's going to be how people are going to describe Ten Hag's tenure at United.
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah, like big money. Didn't work out, and but he's just one of the many players he brought on. But Scholes even came out and said, "Listen, he's going out and he's signing average players for big money. Like, did he need to sign De Ligt? No, because at the end of the day, he had Harry Maguire there, and he was supposed to bring in De Ligt and Mazraoui to show up the defense. The whole mindset was, well, they played for me at Ajax. They know my tactics. They know my philosophy. So they're not. I don't need to coach them up on it. They just need to go in there.
Just show up, yeah.
Just do what they would do. What they did at Ajax. They came in and like Jesus, like they're all over the place. They just it's almost again. There's no tactics. There's nothing to be implemented here. And then he went out. Like, Anthony's a perfect example. They had Ahmad, they had Pellistri, and they had Garnacho at the club, and he still went out. And granted that Garnacho and Pellistri and Ahmad were still coming through, but they sent Ahmad out on loan to Sunderland. Then they sent him out on loan to Rangers. And then Garnacho got put through. He actually just they sold Pellistri to Olympiacos. And my mindset's like, but you went out and signed Anthony when you had those 3 players, and now Anthony can't even get on the subs bench.
Yeah, exactly.
A year, 18 months later from signing him, or 2 years later, or whatever it was.
Yeah, for 95 million or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous. So it's just, you have to sort of scratch your head and think, okay, where was Ten Hag's mindset there? Granted, Anthony was signed before the whole Ineos group, so everyone's like, well, Ineos group wouldn't have happened on the Ineos group. But here's the thing: what is happening? They're still signing players that are average for big money. Like Ugarte looks good. Like you mentioned earlier, we both watched him at Copa America. He looked good Copa America, and I think the reason why is because he had a manager who had tactics in place that made him look like he was good.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that seems to be a reoccurring theme with us, particularly with foreign players, that they go and play, like perfect example, Ugarte, they go play for Argentina and they look incredible, but then it does not translate to anything at Manchester United. And that's been like a reoccurring theme for God knows how long now. And I wonder if there needs to be a change in philosophy on foreign. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I have the answer for that right now. But it's been a reoccurring theme with this club.
Well, just I understand like why he thought he had to go out and get Delit because Delit knew the his so-called philosophy and tactics. But here's my thing:
Mm-hmm.
he had Kambala. Kambala was there already. I thought
Mm-hmm.
Kambala looked good. He's young, 21 years of age.
Yeah, yeah,
Why wouldn't you just say, okay, Varane's out, Kambala, you're on, and
yeah,
then you could probably still could have brought Delit in and just said, okay, that's just for I don't want to have no centre backs again, but. Mainu looks like a shadow of the player that we seen last year. Mainu was
mm-hmm.
grabbing, no, Mainu actually was playing well. It wouldn't surprise me now, during the next international break if Mainu doesn't get called up to the England squad just because of the fact. And the only people have to be blamed is the players themselves, but also Ten Hag needs to shoulder some of that blame because he's not really setting them up to succeed. He's setting them up to fail, as we see. Spurs were coming in with question marks. Spurs are they had the same points, same amount of losses, same amount of wins. Like, everything was the same going into this match against United. People were questioning, has Big Ange lost his way at Spurs? Spurs look low. They're great to watch because sometimes they just kamikaze going forward, but then defensively it leaves them a little shambles. Jeez, United made them look like prime Barcelona. Like James Maddison.
That's the thing is like everyone kind of knows how they play or whatever. So it's like, well, what is it? Is it you listen to these players and they say, there's nothing that they didn't do that we haven't. Didn't prepare for in training and this and that. All right. So that's one thing that really bothers me then, because then that tells me that the players just, it tells me two things. Either they're not listening to the manager or two, that they're just not putting a shift, which is, or it could be both.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So, and this has been a very reoccurring theme under United since the Moyes era was always going to be a bit of a disaster because succeeding Ferguson was always going to be difficult. And then it was an aging squad. So Moyes, according to he's come out and said he wanted to get Bale, and supposedly offered Spurs like something like 130 million, but Bale already had his mindset on Real Madrid. Toni Kroos has recently just come out and said that he agreed to come to United. He agreed his contract was expiring at Bayern. He agreed to come to United. He was excited for it, but then they got rid of Moyes, and then Real Madrid came in and snapped him up and said, "Okay." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to go somewhere where there's a little bit more structure there because with a new manager coming in, don't know if I can fit the philosophy." There was no guarantee who was going to come in. They've obviously got Louis van Gaal. But, then after that, you had Van Gaal was used as a scapegoat, even though he won the FA Cup. He was told to let go. Mourinho came in. Same situation, players down tools. Pogba was supposed to be the cancer. Martial was supposed to be a bad egg. All that kind of stuff. It was the same thing. All these players were down in tools. All these players stopped showing up. But all of a sudden now, we are at almost a complete, outside of Rashford, like this is almost a completely different team from the same team that down tools with Mourinho. The same team that down tools under.
Oh
Solskjaer.
yeah. I believe there's only 3 players that I've played with, different managers. Bruno and
Bruno, Dello, and Rashford and Shaw with the 4.
Yeah, 4. Yeah.
So, but Shaw, let's just take that little chunky shit out of the equation because he's out for another 6 or 8 weeks. So I think he's just hiding at this point. I think he's just
trying to collect a paycheck.
Jesus, part of me thinks that he's having people come in like 2-footing him at the house every chance he gets, so he doesn't have to come back to play. Like, what I mean? He's like hiring hitmen to come in, like hit him with a bat. Because the British media did a great spin on it and said, well, poor Shaw, he's out for another 6 to 8 weeks. He ruptured the muscles in the leg that he broke a few years ago. A few years ago, he broke his fucking leg 9 years ago. 9 years ago on September, I think 17th. It was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
I've broken I've snapped my shin in half, and I get it. Though it takes a little time to come back from. I was thankful I was younger, but at the same time, he has like some of the best, medical.
Yeah, he has access to the best medicine in the entire world. So I mean,
exactly.
If he's not getting access to that, then that's a whole other conversation.
Exactly, and that's the thing. If they're not, if the team's not getting looked after and they're having like reoccurring injuries, then that's a whole nother discussion. But Shaw's out for another 6 to 8 weeks, so take him out of there. Dallo has been played out of position, but at the same time he's been playing left back for a while, so you understand. But again, it's like this whole players down in tools. So like Bruno is a captain. we've said it for a while. When he's on, he looks like a great captain. But when shit goes wrong, he sometimes downs his tools. He doesn't. He does what he just did against Spurs. He kicked out, got sent off. It just got reversed there. The FA reversed it, so they United won the appeal. So he's not getting suspended, but for 3 matches. But I've never known any other top club go through this. And people are going to probably laugh when they hear me saying United's a top club. United still is a top club. Like, you can't turn just because you say, "Oh, you're talking about your history of what you want." At the end of the day, like, history is what gets you to the pinnacle you're at now. Like,
yeah, exactly.
No, it's not like United went out and decided to, have a big billionaire, people who have just copious amount of money, infinite money, come in and then start writing checks and putting it in someone else's name and say, "Okay, that's how we made our money." United built like they are where they are now over building success over decades and decades. So United can turn around and say that, because you can't turn, like, there's a reason, like, in sports why you always turn around, you talk about some of the great players. You can't just turn around and say, "Well, they're in the past, so forget those players." You can't. Like,
it's part of your club's, it's part of your team's history.
Well, I'm just talking about just in sports in general. Like, I can guarantee you right now. Yeah, I can guarantee you right now that no one's going to forget, like, the Pelés, the George Best, the Dennis Laws, like Maradonas of the world. Beckenbauers, Zidane, all the players. But then you go into other sports, you're not
Ronaldo's, of course.
Like, put it this way, Michael Jordan is world renowned just because he's Michael Jordan. No, you can't.
Of course, even if you're not a basketball fan around the world, there's people that are buying Air Jordans and the Jumpman shirts, and there's a reason why.
Yeah, and I put United in that kind of that exact same category, that you can go anywhere in the world, and you could go to any country in the world that doesn't speak English. Yeah. But as soon as you say Manchester United, they'll understand what you mean. They understand what you're talking about.
They might not know sports, but they're gonna know what that is.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I mean by that when I say so I'm not understanding how United can be in the position they are again. No, this is 11 years on from Ferguson retiring. Yeah. And we're going through what I would say the fourth rebuild?
Yeah, fourth rebuild. And which I think speaks to a bigger point, is why I think maybe me and you at the end of last year at the FA Club, and even, maybe a broader sect of the fans, did not want to move on to Ten Hag, just because we have had such a revolving door of managers over the last years. And like you said, because we know what's coming, and it's just going to be another rebuild, because whoever's going to come in, they're going to have the same issue. Like you've spent 30 minutes yapping about that. They're going to want to bring in their players, and it's an entire rebuild all over again. You're starting from the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. Because they talked about, the Mourinho went down and got Pogba, and Van Gaal brought in Martial, and these other like Bay and Lindelof was brought in by. We could go on for we could talk for 3 lifetimes about how many players United brought in over the last 10 to 11 years, and every time it was like, all right, new managers, and he has to get rid of the deadwood. They have to get rid of the deadwood. They have to get in the right personnel, the right mentality, and then when they do sign them, everyone's like, "Oh, that's a great personality. That's a great character. He's a good player. He's a kind of player." And then I'll fast forward 3 years. Oh shit, he's awful. His character's awful, and you need to get rid of him. So if we get rid of, like, and I do think the club was going to get rid of Ten Hag, but my biggest concern, and we talked about offline, that this is Ten Hag's team. And my biggest concern is that it's going to be a whole new regime again. They're going to have to say, okay, you don't have to start from scratch again. So, at Liverpool, Klopp came in 9 years ago, and he inherited Brendan Rodgers' team, and it took him 4 to 5 years. But within those years, he did get Liverpool to the final. You could see to a Europa League final, Champions League.
Yeah, you could actually see progression. Like with Ten Hag, it's like 1 or 2 steps forward and then 3 steps back. There's no sign of progress whatsoever.
And that's the biggest problem here. I think if United, and I've said this before, I wouldn't have a problem with United if say they were to get bit 3-0 this weekend, right? But then but looking back in the match, Garnacho hit the post, and the goals came from just like
they looked like a team that actually was putting in an effort and could have like gone on and won a match. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, like if I didn't see Dalot stop running, or I didn't see Rashford jumping out of a tackle like he was in the fucking Olympics doing the 400 meter hurdle, like I'd have no problem. But what we're seeing is players just giving up, and when it's hard for fans to see the same players that they idolize. Like I can tell you right now, I have children that play football, and I would not turn around and tell them, okay, everybody knows when they grow up, everyone says, watch how the pros do it, watch what they do, you have to replicate what they do. I would never have any one of my kids sit and watch United right now and say, okay, do exactly what they do, because they're going to say, oh, you mean walk? Yeah. Can I just walk? Can I do what Dalot did and stop running?
Just jog it back.
So that's the thing. It's the biggest frustration for me is the fact that if they do get rid of Ten Hag, we're back to square one of like. And you're going to see everyone going through the list of like, okay, like just like you and I did over the summer, keep loan sell. We're going to say the same thing again.
Of course. Unfortunately, I think you and I both know, and every United fan knows that that's coming. It's just a matter of when. You hear the rumors of because the international break is coming up within the next couple weeks. That maybe that is potentially something when it happens. It's historically when major moves like this has happened in the past. I'm not predicting that's going to happen. It wouldn't surprise me if it did. It wouldn't surprise me if he stuck around. I mean, I guess if he has some more clunkers and he's losing 2-3, 4-5-0 or whatever, then yeah, I guess I guess at that point, then yeah, just rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. No, exactly. And like, I do feel bad for him. Like, I read an article earlier with Benny McCarthy's interview, and Benny McCarthy came out and said that players these days need a manager with passion. And I'm like, okay. I was like, because the last time I checked, when I watched Real Madrid, I don't exactly see Carlo Ancelotti exude passion. What I do is I see him like exude confidence, exactly,
and everybody on that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So. No, you don't need to have a.
If anything, Anna Clottey's drinking espresso or a cappuccino in the dugout.
Yeah, here's a perfect example of like the kind of man we talked about this too offline. Like Ancelotti is, I know we're going off lot. That Ancelotti on his summer vacation, you've got all these other people like Klopp to spot like a big villa in Marbella or something like that, and you got all these other managers going all to these exact. Do you know where Ancelotti spends his time off? Montana. He's in Montana.
He's a cowboy. He's the Italian John Dutton. D.
Seriously, man, that's what I'm seriously thinking. And supposedly the rumors is he's a massive fan of Yellowstone.
Actually, that reminds me. When we get off of here, I have to send you a reel of the Shabuzi song. Everybody in the bar getting tipsy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's an Italian guy who did a cover of that song in Italian, and it made me actually wonder if Ancelotti's listening to that in fucking Montana.
Well, exactly. So I know we're getting a little topic here, but like I was just saying, like I heard that Benny McCarthy came out and said players these days need a manager with passion. I don't see Carlo Ancelotti like pounding his chest like Klopp does, or running up and down the sidelines like Mourinho and Tuchel and all them kind of stuff, and screaming and shouting. I don't see that. But what happens is, obviously, Ancelotti over his many years of experience, has went ahead and decided like I'm going to make sure that these players are well coached in terms of like what I expect of them, what their jobs are, and. No, after Benny McCarthy came out and said that, he said about that Ten Hag's one of the top coaches in terms of tactics. I lost all respect for McCarthy then, because I'm thinking, okay, like, have you not been watching the same matches we are? Because I don't see many tactics. I don't see much of philosophy. The players seem lost. They genuinely seem lost.
They look confused and they have no idea what is going on. So yeah, I don't know what he's seeing from that. Maybe he's talking about his time at Ajax and other time, but at United, I don't know what he's seeing that we are not.
Yeah, like I'm hoping that I'm wrong, and like the United end up like, no, maybe they turn a corner against Porto, but like, Jesus, we've had this conversation too many times. That's probably the most favorite saying right now for United is turn the corner.
Yeah, I
Like,
know. Turn the corner. Yeah,
yeah,
I at this point I don't know where that is. I really do. I mean, obviously, we have Porto coming up pretty soon, and honestly, I don't think either one of us or most United fans expect us to get a result in that match.
no,
I'm
not
fully
based on
prepared
current
for the
performance.
worst. No, but not
Yeah,
based on current performance. No.
yeah. And here's the thing too, that I don't know why managers don't do it more often. Like we've like we mentioned earlier, we've seen Rashford not give any a performance that he's
Yeah.
capable of, and doesn't seem to give any effort. Delo did the same thing. Why isn't like the younger players who? And that's the thing too. And this is I thought about this earlier too. It's a bad example that they're setting for the younger players that are coming through, because they're going to start. They're going to see players like the Rashfords and the Delos and the Casemiros that aren't really playing well. And when they do get their chance, they might start picking up the same tendencies. They might not be given 100%. And like back in the day, you would say give the youth a chance because they're going to run their balls off.
Yeah.
But they might not, because they're seeing the people that they're idolizing. There's like
exactly. They're going to think that's
like
acceptable behavior.
Like, do you think little Harry Mass is going to see Delo trotting back, not Mark and Johnson scoring? Do you think he's going to say,
yeah,
geez, he's going to start the next match, so should I really even be doing the same thing when I get on the chin? Or where's the competitiveness of driving forward and actually having a wee bit of pride, and not only like pride for playing for the club that pays your massive salary, but also pride in yourself, like you're a professional athlete.
Yeah, exactly. Irrespective of having pride for your club and for fans, have pride for yourself, have pride for your family name, for Christ's sake. Your friends and family, or your siblings, or whoever is watching that, and they watch that. I would be fucking embarrassed, some of these performances and shifts that these players are putting in.
Exactly, because there's the reason your name's on the back of the jersey is that you think about it, like that's your legacy of your name. So do you really want people to turn around? And like, I know some people are probably going to laugh at us saying they're going down the rabbit hole thinking that people actually give a shit about, but you do, because there's you have players that played for United that played decades ago that they still get their names chanted at Stratford End.
Yep.
Does that not inspire anybody to want to sit there and think, I'm going to really put a shift in here? And the one, and that's another thing. It's another thing too, where we have to sort of question Ten Hag's mindset, is that the players that he let go of, and granted, some of them they weren't the most technical, and there was times where you wrote like you scratched your head thinking, why are they even on the pitch? But like, Scott McTominay would not have given up.
No, I agree with you. Yeah,
Fred wouldn't have given up. Like Fred would have kept going. And then you have other players that are sitting there. Like it's just crazy how when we watch Sancho go off to Dortmund and he's playing well, and he go out now to Chelsea and he's playing well, and you're thinking, okay, maybe United just as a club has just become a graveyard for players' careers, because they come there, they get a big fat salary, and it's like the MLS of England, of Europe.
I mean, honestly, meaning the last 10, 11 plus years or whatever, that's kind of depressingly, that's kind of what it has turned in here. Just a place where a lot of names come and they go get a fat paycheck, and not much translating to the pitch.
Yeah, and I'm not defending the Glazers whatsoever, because I do think that the Ineos situation is a facade for the Glazers to sort of keep they're letting someone else now. They're using the Ineos as a shield between themselves, a mediator between themselves and the fans. So now there's no direct line of sight for the fans now to get the Glazers, because the Glazers now have the Ineos sitting right in front of them.
Yeah, they're the ones who are front and center. Exactly. Malcolm and Avram and fucking Gollum, whoever the fuck, Gollum, Glazer, whatever the fuck their names are. They're probably just hanging out in Tampa or wherever the hell they are. And they look at United and probably all their teams as not as success on the field. They look at it as like a financial thing. Oh, all right, cool. We qualified for the Champions League. We did this. All right, how much money are we getting? That's what they look at it. They look at it as a number thing. They could give two shits if they're actually winning anything.
No, they definitely don't. And as I said, I'm not trying to defend them at all, but you can't turn around now and say that the Glazers are the problem for the club in terms of like not supporting the manager in terms of his transfers, because they have like 600 million And
Yeah, I mean, 600 million isn't chump change. So yeah, I mean,
and this is also after United had to come out and say that they had a loss of over 100 million this past season. So no, they're spending money, and they're selling players, but they're not selling the players for the same prices that they're buying players. But I don't know. We can keep talking about this, but we can sort of transition this into now. Is like, so if you were to turn around now and say, okay, after Thursday's match, United get beat by Porto, and they said Friday morning there's a press conference, and United say Ten Hag has been relieved of his duties. We've parted by mutual consent. He's getting a severance package. I've read multiple different names getting thrown into the pot. I've heard that Ruud van Nistelrooy will be the interim manager until further notice and possibly end of the season, which concerns me about him just because of the fact that he is currently part of the coaching staff. So why isn't he turning around saying, listen, like, no, this isn't working, or maybe we should do this? Like, he's also part of the equation, and therefore he's part of the problem. So, I don't know if that's a good one. We're also hearing that possibly Inzaghi from Inter is a candidate. They just Inter just won today, I think. They were winning 2-0 last time I checked the Champions League. Got them to the Champions League final 2 seasons ago.
They got a lot of outside issues too with both Inter and Milan too. I'm sure you've read about too.
Yep, exactly. So you got Zaghi, and then we got a good old your favorite possible candidate, the man you really want to take the hot seat, and Gareth Southgate has been touted because of his relationship with Dan Ashworth.
Yeah. I think I'll share with our listeners my planet from our group chat earlier this morning. This is my grand plan, D. I think, in the chance, or the very likely chance, that Erik Ten Hag gets sacked in the next few weeks or whatever, I think we should have Fred the Red manage, and then he's going to secretly save the club, and then it's going to take his mask off, and it's going to be old Buck Rogers, D. What do you think about that?
I don't know if I want that now after what I just watched. With the Celtics
I know. 7-1. Yeah.
A 7-1 tanking by Dortmund. So no, I'll take your idea and I'll raise you $50. I would do the same thing. Let Fred the Red take it, and then he'll take the match against Villa. United will win 5-0. Ashworth scored a hat trick. Xerxes will get a brace, and then at the end of it, you'll see Fred the Red take off his helmet and it'll take off the head, and it'll be actually Roy Keane.
Oh, there we go. I like that even better.
It'd be like an episode of Scooby Doo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Jesus.
So it'll be Roy Keane and Fred the Red.
Roy Keane and Fred the Red. I like it. Yep. Now, in all seriousness, though, I would say, of the names that have been floating around there, I'm okay with Van Nistelrooy being the caretaker, in the time being, unless he, really shows something during that time, maybe that turns into a permanent thing. But he would have to really show something during that time frame. I guess a name, none of them,
there was also Thomas Tuchel has been still, once again, his name's reemerged.
I guess out of all of them, that would be the one that would probably have pique my interest the most. Especially, there was very serious mutual interest, and from what my understanding was, it came down to him not really having a say in transfer policy and all that sort of stuff because of Ineos, if I recall correctly. So I guess that would be one, the one that stands out to me the most. I don't know. What about you, D?
Well, I'd say, like I mentioned, there was Thomas Tuchel's name's been mentioned again. Van Nistelrooy, Inzaghi. I don't think Inter's going to part with Inzaghi personally. I don't think he's even a candidate. I don't.
Honestly, it doesn't sound like he wants to leave because I've read some quotes from him, and I don't see why he would want to leave.
No, I think his tactics are more suited for Italy. I think. I don't think that if he was to bring something in, I don't think the current squad that he has at his disposal would be. At United, the current team would be able to like
You'd be able
really
to line up like that because you know,
nah.
3-5. I mean, you'd have.
They wouldn't be able to replicate what he's doing at Inter.
Yeah,
It'd be another disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
But the one manager that, and I watched the thing where he did an analysis this past weekend. And he was Graham Potter as another man that sort of like the name. He's he's a younger manager. Like I get it. Like no, he did really well at Brighton. I think Chelsea, the situation at Chelsea for him, I think he came out and he's admitted his wrongs, what he did wrong. No, is he a possible candidate? Yes, but no, I think Tuchel would be the best right now, just because he comes on, he's got a philosophy, he knows he actually seemed to know what he was doing. I know he didn't do well at Bayern, but he's also he's got a strong personality. Do I think players that play for him? I don't know. I don't think Zidane is. A lot of United fans love him.
I mean, I've heard those. I feel like it's just kind of like, like what we go through the whole transfer window. It's just there's just always big names or names that are always linked to us just because we're United. I don't even know if the interest is mutual of that or if that would even be a possibility.
Yeah, well, like you mentioned it, like right before we started, and I actually I don't think it'd be a bad sign, and I think he would bring a player to United that I actually wanted United to sign, about 2 seasons ago, was Unai Emery. He would be a good candidate.
You kind of look at what he's done. His managerial career hasn't been all good and all bad. It's had definitely ups and downs for sure, but I don't think anybody can knock what he's been doing at Villa. I know I can't.
No, and he's Mr. Europa League. He's won it so many times with multiple different clubs. But he's done really well at Villa. And one of the things that I think he would possibly do if he was to join is actually end the search for United to get an actual goal scorer. I think I would love little Ollie Watkins to come to United. I think Ollie Watkins.
Yeah. I mean, he has player. like 6-something goals right now, I think, doesn't he? Is that what?
Yeah, he's definitely up. But he started off the season slow, and but he's definitely picked up in terms of like his production. But it's not. I remember watching him against Arsenal last season, and Villa, but I think Villa beat Arsenal 2-0, and it was when Arsenal was really pushing for the Premier League, and his breakaway speed was unreal, and then it was just finishing was another aspect that I think United just don't have that killer instinct. But again, it's hard to have a killer instinct when you don't get opportunities to actually like get a shot on goal. Like if it's one thing not getting the opportunities or the service, but even when there has been the service, it's like where's it coming from? Because it's not coming from Xerxes, and Hoyland's just coming back basically from an injury or whatever. So I don't know where the goals are coming from. I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum before on previous episodes. So I honestly, I'm at a loss of words on where they're coming from, man. Yeah, same here. It's just it's just down to the way the team's set up. Like we've went through multiple different scenarios of how the team should set up. We've seen a lot of different formations, a lot of different lineups, like different players in different positions, and it's the point where nothing really seems to really click with the team. Ten Hag keeps saying these players need time, but I don't see. I
don't agree with that. That's a cop out to me. It's like, you're a professional, like a Ugarte or something. Like, how much time do you really need to acclimate?
No, you don't.
I feel like that's a bullshit answer.
All right, because I hate to say this, but like the best way to shut Ten Hag up there is that. Look at that Chelsea team. That Chelsea team is just I think they said it was like 46 first team players they bought. Like they just all the signings. They have all these different players, all these different personalities, and they have a manager that was just in the championship last season, got them playing good football, got them winning, got them scoring goals. Now, do they keep clean sheets? They were for a while, but they beat Brighton 4-2.
Yeah,
but they've got Cole Palmer, who's just I think he is the best player in the Premier League right now, just firing all cylinders.
Yep.
And on top of that, you've got a good structure. Like they just as I said, if you look, that's a team you couldn't tell me they're starting 11 every time just because there's so many different players that can come in out of the squad. but they also have a philosophy. Like the manager there, the former Leicester manager, he seems like he's got a good grip on things. And he didn't come out and say, well, I did just sign like 15 players this summer and they need time to gel. Ten Hag has had like the majority of the team that he plays week in, week out, bar like 2 or 3 players, were there last season and they're there season before.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I mean, maybe I'll give him 2, and I'll give him Euro and Shaw. That's the only 2 and still that's not an excuse.
Nah, I don't think Euro, if Euro's to come in there, I don't think, because who again, we talked about this before the season started, like who does he drop for Euro? Like, does he drop Martinez? Because does he play him left centre back, or does he play Euro right centre back? So does he drop Delit? So if he drops Delit, then why did he buy Delit? No, and then he has Harry Maguire there, and he's got Lindelof. You got a lot of players there that don't need to be at the club, and at this point, it's just we don't really know what's happening because we've watched every single match so far this season. I knew this was coming. I mentioned it last season with the preseason. I'll die in this hole when I say this, that preseason literally dictates how you're going to start your season. If you don't have a good preseason, I don't care if they turn and say, preseason is just about getting your fitness.
Yeah.
If the players don't look fit, they don't seem to know the tactics. They don't seem to understand.
You've been on it since the start, man.
They don't seem to understand what their role is within the team. We've seen that against Liverpool. We've now seen it against Spurs. We've seen it against Brighton. We've seen it against C20. Like, no, that's just 4 matches. We're not even that far into the season. Like,
no, we're not. It's gonna be a really long season.
Like Talk Sport actually went outside Old Trafford after the Spurs match, and they asked a lot of the fans. Like, what's your opinion on it? Do you think Ten Hag's should go? And of the 3 of them that were interviewed, one was a young lad that just seemed like he was smacked out of his head. But the first fellow he actually talked sense. And he was saying that it's to the point now where it just seems like the players have just lost interest with Ten Hag. He just seems just downtrodden. He doesn't seem to really be. It just doesn't seem to be like the I would say.
The light at the end of the tunnel, or I would say I would use the word defeated sometimes when you look at him on the touchline, and a buddy of ours in our group chat, Ben, he pointed out to us in the was it the not the Spurs match, was it the Palace match, I think? Maybe it was in the extra time you had basically Ten Hag just kind of sitting there, like looking like he's moping around, and Van Nistelrooy's the one who's out actually yelling at the team and push forward or whatever. So I look at him and I almost see like a defeated man.
Yeah, well, just like back to the FC20 match. I think it was the FC20 match where.
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
He was bringing on Garnacho in the match, and Owen Hargreaves picked up on it. He said because he was on the touchline, the microphones picked up on what Ten Hag was telling him. And United at the time are chasing a goal. They're trying to win a match, and he's bringing Garnacho on, and he says 3 words to them: defend, defend, defend. Like, I'm thinking, like, wait a minute, you're bringing on a youngster who's naturally
an offensive-minded player, and you're telling him to defend.
Yeah, and I get what he's probably trying to say to him, like, make sure you attack, but also remember your defensive responsibilities. I get all that, but again, if you look at the other teams around, like just some of the most successful teams, like, do they get players to defend? Yes, but at the same time, like, you see some of the leniency being given to their top players. Like, I can tell you right now that Mo Salah doesn't defend. I'm sure Arne Slot's not telling him. No, does he tell him to keep his shape? Does Salah pinch back in and get shape? 100%. Yeah. But the way these players have been told to play is that, like, bomb forward, like, and then it seems like they're just clueless. Like, a lot of times when Garnacho gets the ball, he's told just to run. And he's running down the wing. And then by then, he looks up and there's maybe one person in the box with 3 players around him. So he goes, okay, I got to stop. And then by then, the other team gets the defense back and the ball's been switched. They play it backwards. At this point, I think Thursday will be the nail in the coffin. I don't think it's a matter of if United lose. I don't think United's going to get a result. I think these players have really, like, it's just diabolical that we're going through this again as a club. Just like another season of players that's down in the tools. They did it under Mourinho. They did it under Solskjaer. Now they're
Yep.
doing it under Ten Hag, and it's like,
Yep.
Jesus, like how can it happen with the three different like? And everyone keeps saying, oh, but there's still some bad apples in that group. I'm like, okay, we'll call them out. No one ever calls it out, and everyone knows it's the Rashfords of the club. He's a common denominator there. He was there for Mourinho, he was there for Ole, and he's now under Ten Hag. Martial's gone, so they can't blame him. Pogba's gone. Shaw's another one that was been around all three of them. And no, Bruno didn't play under Mourinho, but he definitely played under Solskjaer. But at the same time, he played his best football under Solskjaer, so I don't think he down tools per se. But this time I think some of the players are also just frustrated. I think Bruno.
That's what I was gonna stay at Bruno is because out of all of them, he's the one I'm gonna he hasn't been playing well, but at the same time mentally it's got to be so draining on him. Just be like sometimes it seems like he's the only one who cares or puts in an effort really. For the team, and I do wonder because if I was in his shoes or whatever, and I was seeing that, and you've been going through the same crap over and over again, I could just see how that's mentally exhausting and just would weigh on you and be very frustrating. And I'm not making an excuse for him, but I'm just trying to put myself in his shoes.
Oh no, and I agree with you. Like I think at this point, I think that tackle with Madison on Sunday, the red card. I think he was unlucky. Did he slip? Yes. Did he still kick out a little petulantly? Yes.
Yeah.
But I think it's down to this frustration because Bruno's supposed to be this creative, playmaker for United. He's supposed to be the creative force.
And it's not translating this year. That's probably working. Why it probably has to tactics and different play. It's probably a lot of things.
Yeah, no, it definitely has. I've watched the match now, and it's like United get the ball wide, and it goes wide, and then every team knows how to set up against United.
Yep.
And then it happens it goes out wide. They either try to beat the man, they don't beat him. And then they cut back, they play it back, and then all of a sudden goes all the way back to the center backs. And by then, the other team starts to press high. Get the ball away,
and the build up's already it's dead by that point.
Yeah, it's very slow. It's methodical. It's very, like I said, I think this currently under Ten Hag. I think if you were to combine the way United played under Moyes with how they played under Van Gaal, I think it's a mixture of both. I think it's a mixture, and that's not a good thing either. But we'll have to just wait and see. But I think right now that Ten Hag's been given everything, and I think that's what a lot of people, especially the media, I think that's why they have their knives out for him because he was told, when he first, I don't have the players I don't have the players that will play the way I want them to play.
Yeah.
So okay, let's go ahead and get you your players. Like you went after Frankie De Jong his first summer and he didn't get him. Okay, so and I noticed United never actually went out and got a player similar to Frankie De Jong. There was no plan B for that. So they went out, they didn't get Frankie De Jong, and then he was like, okay, and he starts going out and signing some of his players, a lot of them former Ajax players. He went and got Martinez, Antony, Onana, De Ligt, Mazraoui, and then so he has players that have played with him in the past, and it's still not working. So okay, that's strike number one for him. So all the media's out saying, okay, didn't have players to play the way I want to play. Okay, he's got the players, so that's strike one. Then the second one is like, well, they need to stick to the plan. And then like, okay, everyone can see, even Stevie Wonder can see it right now that United don't have a plan.
There isn't one.
They don't seem to have a plan when they're going forward. And this whole the players need time and all this kind of stuff. Okay, I'm not seeing it. So that's strike. Media's immediate. Like everybody can see. There's just no coordination. There's nothing between it. There's no gel between the team. Like I don't even know if even these players even get along outside. Like, do they get along outside because they outside the pitch because they don't look like they like being on the same pitch as one another. They seem to just very disjointed. They don't. There's not there's not much camaraderie. Like, I remember the one thing I remember noticing when Ten Hag first came on board was the players were very big into celebrating each other. Like if a player made a good block during a shot or put it out for a corner, you see them all going over high five one another, helping each other up, like really getting on top of one another, keeping that morale high.
Yeah.
Now when you see a player block a shot, it's like, oh,
no.
Like no, you just like, oh, here we go again.
Here we go again. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's no high tempo. There's no high. Like, the high personalities are going around like high five and grabbing people up, really encouraging one another.
Yeah.
There's none of that. It's a lot of just eye rolling, like blowing, like just.
Yeah, like you just said. Here we go again. Yeah.
Just going through the motions, and that's the last thing you want to hear. It's the last thing you want to see. And then the last thing is like, I heard that Ten Hag was a little bit, he wasn't exactly 100%, which I thought was strange. It wasn't exactly 100% convinced that his backroom staff, like his coaching staff, were equipped to take him forward, to really get him into where he needs to be. So I thought that was strange because he worked with Steve McLaren at AZ Alkmaar. And I think it was maybe even FC20. So it was FC20. That's when he was at FC20 as the Alkmaar. FC20 under Steve McLaren. That's why he brought McLaren back to him, because it was a win-win for him. He knew him from his FC20 days. And LC McLaren knew United from being assistant manager to Ferguson. So he brought him back. Now he's got rid of him. He's taken over the Jamaica job. He brought Benny McCarthy in. Benny McCarthy was one of the first to leave. Mitchell van de Ag, he brought him in. He's gone. He was his number 2. He's gone. I don't even know where he is now. And then he's brought in a whole new goalkeeper coach. New medical team.
Medical team.
Everything.
It's all brand new.
Yeah, they brought in O'Driscoll last September from Arsenal, and his whole medical team. So he was given a pretty much blank canvas, was thinking, okay, you've been given, the players, like if Ineos really did that 3-pronged process of finding players, then and Ten Hag was the one that chose him, then that's on him. He's done everything, and that's strike 3 for the media. They're like, okay, he's been given everything to succeed. Yeah. He's been pretty much given keys to the castle, and he doesn't seem to understand what he wants to do with them. And now at this point, are just under siege on every single match. They're just getting absolutely bombarded with shots. They're giving up goals. You can just see that the players are demoralized. You look over at the manager. The manager looks demoralized. He looks dejected. He looks just like a shell of the man he was when he first joined. What seems to happen? That happens to almost every manager at the club. Like the managers come in and if they don't succeed, it seems like maybe it's the pressure of managing Man United just gets to them. Yeah, but they just
it very well could be.
But at the same time, they know what they're getting themselves into before signing that contract. They know that this is Manchester United. Everyone knows who they are. So I never understood where you see media people saying, "Oh, well, I don't think they understood what the reality." Everybody understands what the reality of managing Manchester United is.
Of course,
everyone understands that there's literally 3 big massive words when you walk onto Old Trafford pitch in the dugout. The 3 with fishes you is Sir Alex Ferguson. So like, you're in that man's shadow. Then that man literally was a giant at the club. So like everyone has to understand. I hear people turn around and say, "Well, you need to move on from the past." You can't. You have to. The past is what laid the foundations. And if you forget what laid the foundations, you won't be able to know what to build on.
Yeah,
so you can't just turn around and say, "Oh, just forget about the past and move forward." Like, you can continue to move forward, but you have to still remain and understand that the foundation. So this new stadium that they're talking about building, I don't know where they're going to get the money from, unless they're just going to use outsider investors to do it. Pretty much to pump the money in to give them money back, or because they're not going to get it on the football pitch. They're not going to get it from
absolutely
Champions
not.
League, winning the Premier League. Right? They're not going to give them that.
Nope.
I've seen the new CEO Omar came out and said, Omar Brada came out and said, "Oh, we have it on the calendar. 2028 is when we expect United to start competing for the Premier League again."
I saw that again. I was like, wait a minute, you're telling me you want me to wait 4 years?
Yeah, and I joked in our group chat during the Spurs match. I was like, Omar has currently updating his statement to 2030.
2030. Yes. Yes.
Add 2 years on.
Yes.
Every time United, for every 3-0 match, it adds 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Onto that. So yeah, at this point we'll have to just wait and see what's going to happen. But I think it's the point where I don't think United's fans are going to turn on the club in terms of not showing up. I don't think the United fans are like that. I don't know. No, do I like watching United play? No, but does that mean I'm not going to tune in to watch them? 100%. I will still, unfortunately, put myself through trials and tribulations of watching United and hope that we see the players give a shit. But it's right now, it's definitely not. It's looking very, very bleak.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's probably a good place to wrap it up. I'm just gonna label this episode the vent session.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a good place to tie it up. I mean, yeah, I don't know what to expect going into the Porto match. I fully expect us to lose. I mean, briefly before we sign off, D, what's your score prediction for that one?
Well, I got the Spurs one spot on.
Yeah.
I had three. I had 3-0. I had Son, Madison, and Solanke to score. Obviously, Son didn't play, thank Christ, because it would have been worse. But Solanke did score. I can't see United getting another. I can't see United scoring. But at the same time, Porto did lose away in their first match in the Europa League, 3-2 to that was a Boda or whatever that.
I can't remember the name of it.
So Porto do leak goals. No, maybe I would say I was going to say maybe this is a tournament that United could really expand their football and playing in Europe. At the same time, we just watched them against C20 and they were awful. I think it's going to be another draw. I think it could be another like one each draw,
one each, 2-1,
2-2 kind of thing. And I think the 2-2 will come from like maybe a set piece or something. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's hard to really say because I don't even know who's going to play. Like at this point,
who's going
to play, like who's going to actually like. Who's going to start and who's actually going to actually give a shit? Yeah,
that's a valid. Those are all valid points. I'll say I tend to agree with you that it'll probably be a draw too. I'll say a one each. I don't expect us to come out of there with a win at all. All right, well, D, give your social a plug real quick before we sign off.
Yeah, it's good old DC.McGuigan on the gram.
And I am at KeithIp86. And again, thanks for listening to us, guys. And Wooly will definitely have an episode out next week. And hopefully Erik Ten Hag, who knows? I was going to say hopefully he's still the manager, but I'm going to say hopefully he's not. So who the hell knows? We'll talk to you.